Happy Monday, welcome to your Morning Minute. I'm Shawn that's TJ Carpenter. We're looking at a Broncos training camp. Starts this week. Thursday is the first practice. We'll have an opportunity to talk to Vance Joseph live on the radio show right here on Mile High Sports Radio, 1340 AM, 1047 FM. That'll be Thursday morning. Make sure you check that out. But looking at the Broncos as they get into training camp this week, everyone's focusing on the attention between Peyton Manning, Paxton Lynch. The quarterback obviously gets the attention because there really is, to a certain extent, a bona fide battle there. I think that the field's a little tilted towards Paxton Lynch, but you can envision many outcomes in which Trevor Siemian is still the starter going into week one. But it's not all about that. When you look at the offense as a whole, yes, the intensity of a quarterback competition blots out the sun, but maybe it shouldn't, because neither one of these guys can throw if they're constantly under pressure.
Right, and if you're thinking Paxton Lynch is going to beat out Trevor Siemian and the offensive line stinks, Trevor Siemian's going to play anyways.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really matter. A lot of attention needs to be put in other areas as well, because outside of their linebacker, secondary, and wide receiver, they've got a couple of good wide receivers. There are question marks all across the field. In particular on the defensive line, where they need help stopping the run on the interior. At running back, where they kind of are looking at maybe a running back by committee. I think that's their hope.
I think it's what their hope, yeah, I do.
And then, of course, the offensive line and tight end position as well needs some help. So this team isn't quite as complete as it has been in years past, which is why we saw 36 additions to the 90-man roster for training camp. I think there are a couple of really good names. There are some people who stand out who I think you'll end up seeing play a role this coming season for this team. But ultimately, the big question is whether or not you can keep your quarterbacks healthy and keep them surrounded with talent. Because if they have problems around them, it's going to make it that harder for them to do their job.
Yeah, and you see Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders, two elite Pro Bowl caliber wide receivers, and you think, well, that's probably enough. Well, the Broncos really only have two guaranteed starters on the line right now. Free agent addition Ron Leary, and of course Matt Paradis, now that he's been able to regain his health. But after that, I don't know who the starting tight end is going to be. I don't think the Broncos know who the starting tight end is going to be. We know Jake Butt is not going to be ready to go at the beginning of the season. The Broncos are still looking for a slot receiver. They think they've solved that in Carlos Henderson. But again, you don't know until they've gotten into these preseason practices and games. So there's a lot going on the Broncos offensive line. There are starters to be decided even beyond the quarterback. And we'll make sure we keep you covered all preseason long, all training camp long. It's part of the reason TJ's here. We're supersizing our coverage for the next 5 weeks as we get through all of Broncos training camp and get ready for what's going to be a very interesting season in a stacked AFC West. So keep it right here. Make sure you follow TJ at TJ Carpenter Show on Twitter. You can follow me at Esther Otari. You can follow Nate Lundy, who's not here today. He's over in jolly old England, but you can follow him at Nate Lundy on Twitter as well. So thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. This has been the 52 Inch Sports Network.